Now that we've looked at the historical perspective, we want to take a look at the current perspective. So, in doing so, we want to take a look at the three generations that make up the workforce: the baby boomers, Gen X, and millennials. Here we have three pictures: one of the baby boomer, which I think everyone can clearly see which one it is, and the Gen X and millennial CEOs. Generational trends and stereotypes may not reflect the whole truth, as people are very different, but can still be helpful in analyzing situations. First, let's take a look at the boomers. Born between 46 and 64, they number about 40 million in the workforce today. Um, Primarily, they work with manual processes, low tech, think of these typewriters, and their hierarchy tended to be a top down organization. Their goals tended to be the same as well, a top down approach to goal setting. So they have a tougher time adjusting to the new culture that we have with Gen X and millennials. The Gen Xers came next. So Gen Xers are from 1965 to 1980, numbering about 53 million strong. And we were essentially born to this boom in technology. So started off with the PCs, like this IBM picture here, or the TRS 80s. And we developed Macs, laptops, and then we developed this thing called the World Wide Web. At the time, I think a lot of people called it that instead of the internet. Now, the millennials make up the largest segment of the workforce today. Born between 1981 and 1996, they number about 56 million. They were truly born to tech. They were, alive during the blow up of the internet, where it encompassed pretty much everything. So they grew up with mobile computers in their hands, also known as a smartphone. And they've got computing power that's never been seen before. They also grew up with this whole concept of, how normal people are important. Well, let's face it, everyone is important, is how they grew up, and everyone deserves a trophy. And I think that influenced how some of the culture has changed today. So, going from boomers to millennials, a lot has changed about our ideas of organizations and labor, and I think a lot of that was changed by millennials, but also through technology. I think a lot of these things were technology driven. And before we think that certain industries don't have it, I think most do. Think about timesheets, point of sale systems, pads. They essentially cover most people out there today that are working. So with this technology, it's also driven, other ways to do collaboration and communication through tools like Skype, RingCentral, Fuse, WebEx. So it lets us communicate with people, across vast distances. This technology has also allowed us to get data so that our policies are now data driven more than just a gut feel. And that data tells us that taking care of people produces results. Um, and part of it is because this whole notion that people, who used to be in the assembly lines, they're now the profit machines. And I think that really changes how we um, interact with labor. That data also does tell us that soft skills are more important than ever. And I think it also came about with millennials and everyone being important. So some common themes that allow us to put the dollars with our hearts: empowerment, enlisting people instead of forcing them, encouragement, care, respect, communicate properly. I think all these help us get results through caring, where we can make a dollar because at the end of the day, that's what a business is for. Um, in addition, we can make that dollar while still having a heart. I don't think they're two separate things. Also, in this time, I think working conditions have improved. So we're allowed to do a lot more remote work. One of the reasons why I'm doing this video at my house is because this is where I do most of my work. Because of laptops, VPNs, connections that are super fast now, we have the ability to do things at home that we used to only be able to do at the office. We also have flexible work schedules where we can really work, into our own schedules and work how we work the most efficiently. Now, what that also means that we tend to put in more hours than normal, and we're online all the time. And so that's a benefit to the employer where they can get us at almost any time. In addition to that, we do have tangible benefits like, fitness facilities, lunch rooms, things that weren't available before. And the pictures that I've got here all talk about, creating atmospheres for encouragement and collaboration. The upper left-hand corner is an old break room. The other two are new. The one that I've got pictured called the Hub is actually from Quatrix down in Provo. I want to bring this all back to a real life example and make it personal. When I was working at Northrop Grumman, we had a lot of consultants join our ranks as part of our team members. So they left consulting to be permanent in the ERP department. And I think they did so, a lot of it because there was a sense of team that we had built. We had created a culture where everyone was empowered, they're respected, and they're expected to speak up on things. We didn't have a whole lot of tangible benefits. But because of that, I think our retention policies were low, and we emphasized those intrinsic motivational factors. We did have other things. So we did allow people to work remotely. Like I said, I've spent the last decade mostly working remotely. We did have a lot of flex time as well. All of this, I thought, drove performance where it was real. We had real value come out of it from all this commitment. And I think it produced really good results. We had the least number of systems of any large A&D company. And we also had the lowest cost per revenue dollar for those companies. And I think that's really the point of commitment. We want to try to get the results while taking care of our people.